Hi guys, this week we're going to look at why things happen. There's 7 whys and a bonus what at the end. So let's get started. Hi guys, you might notice it's slightly different here. I'm using my Blackmagic cinema camera. I started on the iPhone, then I went to an old DSLR I had for a while. And I had my Blackmagic cinema camera sitting around, so I thought it's pointless having it sit in a box unused. So here we go. If you're interested, drop me a line. I'll give you the full specs because I've got meta bones on it and all sorts of things. Okay, the first why is why should I care, or why should your audience care? You've got to identify something that people can attach to, something that they will care about. It could be a topic, it could be a theme. It just can't be, oh, this is an interesting story. They need to care, because if they care, they'll lean in. They will think about it. They may tell someone else that they believe cares about this topic as well. Care is a very, very important thing for your audience. Why would they care? This is the second why, the second question mark. Why would they care? Well, they would care because you've identified something that they could connect to, the first should. Why should they care? Now, why would they care is because you don't give it just you don't put it like icing on a cake. It becomes the theme. It becomes the thing you're actually writing about. This thing that you've identified that they would care about. You now have to treat it in a way that they should care about. You now have to treat it in a way that will make them want to care about it. You have to give it some importance. You have to maybe research it. You have to understand this is what would make them care. Why would they care? They would care because you tell it well, that you don't just think of it in a glancing way. You actually pay it respect. You do the right thing by this story or theme. They should care about it because it's something that's close to them, something that they find important, and then they would care because you've done it well. I sounded a bit like a nana then, didn't I? It will be. So they should care about it because you've identified it that it's going to link to that audience, and they will care about it, or they would care about it if you do it well and you write it well. It's not just a coat of paint put on the outside to sort of go, oh, and I've got that in there as well. The next why is your character making that decision? This is sort of important. This is when people say, what makes a good bit of writing? What makes bad writing? Good writing is when the story is driven by character decisions, and those decisions make sense, and that they're made as if the character would really make them. You don't want to have those decisions that come across as, well, oh, okay, they did that just for the story. And you feel those when you see them, especially if, as a writer, you watch TV and you go, and you don't consciously say this, I do, but a lot of people just go, oh, yeah, okay, I know why they did that. Because if he does that, then this will happen and this will happen. So they do it for the sake of the story. The character may act out of character, as they say, and do something just to give the writer more meat to work with. It gives them more things to write about. It doesn't make sense that the writer would do that, that the character would do that. The character does it just so the writer has something to do. That's really bad writing. Your character should make logical and internally logical decisions based on their previous experience and what they assess may be happening. So they're reacting to... And remember, people are trying to get back to the good thing. People only act for the 3 things that I've discussed before, which is suffering, jealousy, and dissatisfaction. If they're happy with their world, they won't make a action that's going to threaten that. So the decision has to be one that's going to get them back to being happy, back to where they want to be. So they make a decision that goes against that, goes against character, goes against their own best interest, unless suddenly or later on you go, and that's why they did, and everyone goes, oh, of course, it made no sense back then, but it makes sense now. The characters should not make those decisions. Characters shouldn't make your life easier. You should make your character's life harder. The next why. Why is this scene in your story? We've said this before, or I've said it before. Scenes have to do a number of things. You can't have a scene that does just one thing. I'm going to have that scene that introduces Harry. So introduce Harry and That's it. You could have had Harry, the introduction of Harry, tagged on the front of another scene. You could have a scene happening and someone walks in, everyone looks and people go, no, sorry, that's Harry. I've known Harry from work. He's the head accountant. Harry, come sit down, meet Steve. And then Harry and Steve have a conversation. There's a bit of tension there because Steve's talking to this guy he doesn't know and he's got to take Craig's credibility that Harry's a good guy. Steve is also an accountant, so then Harry and Steve are doing a little bit of come on, who's the best accountant here? Where do you work? What have you done before? I'm a so-and-so accountant. You're a forensic accountant. Tell me about forensic accounting, that sort of stuff. But a scene has to be in a Texas cage match against all the other scenes just to stay in your film. If it loses, it gets pulled apart and its components get stuck into other scenes. So that's a why. Why is that scene in your film? And why is it where it is? The next one. Why is that a goal? A lot of people, especially when you read log lines, it happens a bit with people that want to write for the YA market, the young adult market. They'll have this massive event, this massive catastrophe, and a teenager that has to save the world. Why is it that teenager's goal to save the world? Well, it seems obvious, isn't it? Who wouldn't want to save the world? Well, a teenager. A teenager wouldn't want to save the world. A teenager would want to get the hell out of there and survive. A teenager probably would not feel psychologically equipped to save the world. A teenager would know they don't have the resources to save the world, the physical strength to save the world, whatever it is. So why is that their goal? Why is anything a particular person's goal? My brother read me a line. He thought it was a great line at the start of a book. And I don't know the book and I'm going to butcher this. But this is like a goal. This woman was trying to get her life back together in the book. That was the whole idea of the book. Was she was just trying to salvage the wreckage of her life because of this opening sentence. It said, I'm not the sort of woman that would ring their husband from a car park and say I want a divorce. But I'm standing beside my car and I've just hung up my phone after telling my husband I wanted a divorce. And then her life starts falling apart. People are taking sides. Who was really her friend, or were they her friend because they were her husband's friend? What about the family? What about the assets? Who gets what? And she's just trying to get her life back together. She's trying to forge a life out of the wreckage that was left by that sentence. That's her goal. So your goal has to make sense to the character and has to make sense within the story. You just can't also have this collection of scenes and then veneer a same thing as before. You just can't veneer something on and say, well, that's their goal. It's the needs and wants. Why is it a goal? Now, the reverse of that is, why is that a flaw? Some people give this flaw that isn't really a flaw. They'll give it a character. And it doesn't make sense that the person's, I'm stumbling over this. It doesn't make sense that is actually a person's flaw. And the same thing as having a veneered on goal. They'll have a flaw of, well, he's a narcissist, or he suffers from narcolepsy and passes out whenever he gets stressed, but that doesn't stop him from being a kick-ass cop that puts himself in danger's way and all. No, that would stop you from being a kick-ass cop because you know you're going to pass out whenever your blood pressure goes up or whatever happens to trigger narcolepsy, and you're going to die. You would treat that. Your goal would be treating your narcolepsy, not becoming the super cop that's going to bring down a whole Colombian cartel. Now, one cop never thinks I'm going to go out there and bring down this whole Colombian cartel. We're going to put some intel together, put together a task force, and I'm going to try to do something. And while that whole task force is going, I might try to get revenge on that one guy over there because I really hate him for another particular reason. That could be a goal within inside the larger goal. And your flaw could be arrogance. Your flaw could be something that's a personality trait. And a flaw should really be an obstacle that you don't see. That would be a good flaw. So a lot of people write these flaws that aren't really flaws. They try to veneer things on. If they want to write a YA novel, they're always dysfunctional kids from a dysfunctional home that have this and that's not real flaws. It doesn't impose. It doesn't stop the objective. It's not it doesn't stop the momentum. It's not an unseen obstacle. A flaw should be an obstacle that you could get around, but you refuse to because it's a flaw in your character. You don't see this thing that's holding you back. The other why is why now? So if you're writing a story now, and I've just said this recently to somebody, I was talking to a producer and she asked me, do you have any stories that have an environmental theme or an environmental back or are set in an environmental... Yeah, she was being asked by financiers and bigger companies for things that had an environmental leaning to them because they saw that as being an emerging market. I didn't. And she said to me, well, don't write one because that opportunity is going to go away for me. But that told me too that is an emerging market if people are beginning to sort of, like when you're talking to your friends, say, what do you want to do now? Does anyone know any good Thai restaurants? Well, you know that in your future there's going to be some Thai food because this week people might not know some Thai restaurants. But next time they see a Thai restaurant, because that seed's been put in their head, they'll go, oh, there's one. I'll remember to tell Craig. This is the thing. She's hearing mumblings of some movies with environmental backing or environmental background will be easy to get money for, or they're going to be in the zeitgeist. They're making predictions that people are going to be worried about those. So maybe it's going to be a little bit like the Satanic Panic when you've got all those movies in the 70s with like The Exorcist and all this, where everyone was being possessed by demons and houses were being possessed, like the Amityville Horror or The Shining, and the Satanic Panic where the devil was coming to get people. That was a driving thing behind a lot of those sorts of stories. So if we look at the environment being the thing behind driving a lot of those stories, that could be an emerging trend. And that would be why I'd be writing one now. So why now? So when you say to people, a producer, a financier or someone, oh, it's a timeless story, they may love that idea that they want some old world charm in their latest production. But they're also hearing is, well, I don't need to make it now. It's timeless. I can make it next year. I can make it the year after that. What's hot now? What do people really want to see now? I'm going to make that. And so you need to have a sense of urgency in your story. You need to have it nowish. Even if you read it 2 years ago, you need to be able to tell people why it's really important that they make it now. So have that in mind when you're writing your story. It can have timeless themes. There is any very, very basic stories. A person against themselves, a person against an environment, or a person against another person. We can boil things down to those sorts of conflicts. So those are timeless because they're the basics. But you've got to be able to tell people why they should hit now. So there is the AIDA, attention, interest, desire, and action. We're talking about the action part of that buy now. Think about Black Friday sales. I'm looking at taking advantage of one after I finish recording this. It's happening now. Black Friday. You've got to act now. And that's what we're saying here. What can you put in your script that makes people go, oh no, I want to make that now. I want to buy that now. Or if I can see where that's going to be huge in 2 years' time, so I better buy it now to get my prep work up and get it ready for 2 years. You've got to give people a sense of urgency. Thank you for everyone who's been doing this. This is slightly wider. I'm looking at the monitor, slightly wider screen. Great comments. We'll get a few more of these running out. I'm thinking of reintroducing the Wednesdays, which were just a little 1 or 2 minute thing. So if you think that's a good idea, drop me a line. And until next time, guys, keep writing. Bye.